So we have already gone over 10 different weapons that do need to get buffed. Today we're going to cover 5 different spells, specifically the sorceries, and talk about how I would change them as well. Now obviously there's plenty of really good spells in this game, which honestly I have been taken for granted because currently I'm in the middle of streaming a Souls marathon, and there are plenty of really bad spells in those games, so Elden Ring has actually done it really good. Now there are some spells that do need a little bit more love, as I'm going to talk about today. If you have your own suggestions, just let me know down in the comments, but yeah, that out of the way, let's just get into it. Now the first spell I want to talk about is Rykard's Rancor. Now this is a fire-based projectile that leaves a trail of explosions on the way there and on the way back of the projectile itself, and it is a delayed explosion on top of that. Now what makes this spell underpowered is that it doesn't really do that much damage, and the delayed effect is very prominent to the point where it's extremely hard to actually land your attacks consistently. Now there are a couple of decent things about this spell. It is a pretty quick cast, has some nice range, it does do decent damage for only consuming 23 FP, however it does take up 2 whole slots, has a 40 intelligence and 18 faith requirement, which is the highest requirement out of all the lava-based sorceries. Now as to how I would change this spell, 1, just make it faster. That's all you gotta do. Just remove the delayed effect probably, just make the explosions come out a lot faster, and you just have a really good spell now because it's gonna do a decent amount of damage really quickly, which is all that it needs to do. You don't need to change the damage at all. Just make it faster. Probably make the AoE a little bit larger as well, so it's actually easier to hit against smaller types of enemies, because there's plenty of times where enemies just dodge, especially the smaller ones, and it just misses. So if you maybe extend the AoE a little bit, make it faster, you have a really good spell. Next spell I want to talk about is Maiden Mist. Now this spell for 20 FP summons a cloudy mist that does a flat 1500 damage to anyone that stands inside of it, and that includes the person that casts it as well. Now 1500 damage is nice for early game, but as soon as you get to anywhere beyond second half of the game and onwards, it's just going to be useless, because 1500 damage is like nothing. Even against like cannon fodder enemies, it's just going to be useless against those. So the obvious change to the spell is to let it scale with literally anything, because there's no way to improve the damage at all. You can fully charge it, doesn't actually work with the Godfrey's icon. It is a knight-based sorcery, it doesn't actually work with the Staff or the Loss. It just does regular physical damage, so not magic damage. You can't use any type of magic types of buffs to boost the damage itself. Please, From Software, make it work. Just let us use it and be viable throughout the entirety of the game. That would be really nice. Now the third spell I want to talk about is Founding Rain of Stars. Now this thing for 27 FP rains a whole bunch of stars from the sky, and it's just not good. First of all, you have a 52 intelligence requirement. It has 2 whole slots that it takes up, and it does absolutely horrendous damage, like really, really bad. I don't know what they were thinking, like it doesn't even go that far, it only encompasses the player itself, it doesn't even like track towards an enemy, and you can't even use multiple at once. Once you use one, you can't summon another one to just do even more damage, and you think it'd be good against large bosses, but no, doesn't even work against those. It's still bad damage overall. Honestly, the way to fix it is just make it do more damage. Like, I don't know what else to do, just probably make it do more damage, make it track at least, because at the moment, even Magic Downpour, which kind of works the exact same way, actually does track and do just as much damage, but even that doesn't really do that good of damage, because even like a few attacks with a Swift Glintstone Shard, that's like the quickest spell in the entire game, that's insanely cheap, does just as much damage. So like probably both of these spells need to get buffed to just their damage, because they're really nice to have. You just use it and then switch back to your main weapons, but like it's not much of a point of that. I don't really know. Now the next spell I want to talk about is Briars of Sin. Now this is a bleed-based AoE that does magic damage, and with every single cast it actually does decrease your health, but it is very cheap in the FB department, which can be a trade-off. But I feel like if this spell and the Briars of Punishment are the only spells in the entire game that actually do decrease your health, I feel like you should be doing a lot more damage, because both of these spells don't even do that good of damage. But Briars of Punishment is actually decent because it is a projectile that actually has tracking. And it's a projectile that has tracking that does more damage than Briars of Sin and decreases less health and has a lot better recovery animations, and you can spam it over and over again. Whereas the Briars of Sin, you can only do a 3-part combo, because after that 3rd part, you have to do this long recovery animation just to start it all over again. I don't know why this spell is shorter range, get less damage, and take away more health. And just, I don't know, what's the point of this? I don't really understand. It needs to do way more damage, needs to have way better recovery animations, probably not have much of a health detriment, because I don't know why these things take away so much health. I don't understand. Even something like the Bloodblade Ash War only takes away health on the first cast, and every single successive cast doesn't really take away much health. And that spell actually does really good damage and really good blood loss build up. This thing just needs to have something a lot better. I don't know what the fuck you gotta do with it. Like, you just gotta change up the entire thing at this point. Now the last spell I want to talk about is Thop's Barrier. Now this is a parry mechanic that deflects spells, but only certain types of spells, and it's not really a quick cast, so you can't really react to a lot of different spells to deflect them. So I just don't really understand why this thing even exists, especially when like the entire lore behind this spell is that this one guy spent his entire life designing one spell to actually get some type of credibility with something. I don't really know the lore, honestly, but it's supposed to be really good. So why does it suck? I don't really get it. Now, obvious fix right now is that when you use the spell, it does that same cool magic force field effect, but like multiple times. So once you use it, the effect lasts about like 5 to 10 seconds. So you can just deflect a bunch of spells inherently without having to use the animation to actually be able to do other things. That would be cool. Just do that. And even that wouldn't even be that good because this spell doesn't even deflect a lot of different spells. Only certain types of spells actually do get deflected. And honestly, while we're on the same page, Eternal Darkness, please consume more spells as well. Why do you only consume a little bit of spells? Suck up some more of them, please. Anyway, that pretty much concludes it for this one. We'll be talking about the incantations next. As always, please do like and subscribe, and do follow me on Twitch because I am currently in the middle of doing a Souls marathon where I only use fist-based weapons, currently up to Dark Souls 3, almost finished. But yeah, see you next one, guys. Bye.